You.
Hey,
Welcome back,
yeah.
everybody. Hope you had a good weekend out there and got to
Happy
take
Monday,
in
all.
as much of the sports as possible. Another big one, and only going to get bigger from here on out as we add in the NBA playoffs now, and NHL playoffs continue to roll on. Obviously, the ones that have kind of been here for us, NASCAR, PGA, kind of a down week, sort of that after major hangover. So not any kind of major tournament there. And then, of course, still wall-to-wall baseball and just everything else going on. But thank you for joining us. We're going to take you back through it. Tyler, how was your weekend?
It was hot. Still is hot.
It was hot.
It's no, overall it's good. Just again getting to watch the sports. Hang out with the family a little bit on Sunday. Get taking the sports. Just praying for any slight breeze to help with this 106 degrees.
Just
like
anything
any breeze
at
all would help. Yeah. But nah. How was your weekend, Ronnie?
It was fun, pretty relaxing. Did actually play golf yesterday, and it was extremely hot.
Yeah.
I was wanting to. Last, I would say 4 times I've played, because I've been trying to play more now that they've reopened. And, it's not, you still have to distance. Golf is pretty easy to distance, but there's different tweaks out there. They've pretty much taken out everything on the course that multiple people would be touching. You don't take the pins out. There's no things to, clean your ball at the tee. All the water fountains and everything are shut off out on the course.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's just pretty much what they can do as far as sort of managing people to be a little responsible in such a big area. It's not, one marshal in a golf cart cannot just constantly patrol and make sure people aren't picking up other people's used tees and whatever. But they're just trying to reduce their liability. But I've been playing more, just in case, something happens where they get shut down again. And I've played, I think now 4 or 5 times in a row. I played on a par 3 course.
I thought you were going to say in case the PGA Tour just desperately needs golfers.
I'm just keeping my name in the pool. Hit me up. I'm ready. Just I want that call.
Right.
But I can go out there and make fun of Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau.
There you go. Yeah.
I'll drive the ratings up.
Just start those beefs.
I was wanting to play a full length 18-hole par 72 whatever course, but did the par 3, and that turned out to be a great idea because it was hot as hell.
Very hot.
So that was about all I could take, and that was pretty early when we I started. I was trying to get out as early as possible, and it was still hot by the end. Maybe had 2 holes where there's a little bit of a breeze, and you're just try to soak it up in the shade, but
sweet relief.
Still fun to get out there, and like I said, I have not seen anything so far in my experience, anyway, personally, out on the golf course where I didn't think it was something they could manage. They're doing what they can, and I haven't seen anyone just being wildly inappropriate, except for as always, people leaving their trash and cigarette butts in annoying places and not fixing their ball marks on the green. I don't know how hard that is.
That predates COVID, though. That's
people have always been just shitty in that way. But real quick, let's dive into the comments here. I see Bo checking in right there with you, Bo. This is we're getting basically a feast every weekend of just big time events.
Seriously.
And now it's all playoffs, so even better. And Bo, coming into, yes, the Celtics did just win the last game that went off. I think we have one more later this evening. But the nice thing I like,
it's at halftime now, actually,
they're doing with the playoffs now in this condensed format, and obviously in the bubble, is playoff games just start at 10 a.m. on a Monday. It's pretty sweet. I mean, I can't be there to watch them all, but it's just nice knowing it's going on. If I hit my lunch break, NBA playoffs, cool. All right, that would never happen before.
Right.
Amanda clapping back. Okay with the Bruins, but boo Celtics. All right, well, Philly and Boston, you're gonna have to take that up amongst yourselves. Discuss.
The Bruins minus Tuukka Rask now, right? Didn't he opt out for the rest of the playoffs?
I believe so. Yes.
Mm.
We'll see. Let's. Jaime apparently laying into different people on Twitter right now. We'll update you on that as that develops. Going off on Kanye and Marco Rubio. Producer Tanaya throwing out the link. and as you know, just indicating that, of course, it is hot fire that we will be laying down for you.
No, it's hot fire outside right now. Actually, that's what it
Yeah,
was.
also that. Suck at mosquitoes. Thank you, Nick, for tuning in. Always suck at mosquitoes. Where's my trusty sign here? And I do have the citronella bracelet and the Thermacell, of course. Very much active right now.
Sweet.
Wanted to play the 18, but the sun was shining. It was 18 par 3 holes, Cease, and that was enough. Enough for me. It was a badge of honor that I finished, all right?
There you go.
But no, it's a good weekend. Nice to get out and play, even if it is super hot. You know, just enjoying that we can play for now. Who knows what's going to happen? So,
Right.
oh, see, here we go. See what started now? Don't talk about the Bruins game. It's still on. We'll you know,
they were down 2-0 before we kind of jumped on, but that was also over half an hour ago, so I have no idea what the score is now.
Yeah, well, we'll take a look at it, you know, as this show progresses. But again, thank you guys as always for tuning in.
Yes.
Hit the link, as producer Tanaya said, if you want to hop on with us and call in live, or hit us up in the comments. Thank you to everyone that's already hopped in there. But I think where do you want to start? I kind of think baseball, just because it's been, you know, they're not in their playoffs, but they have a pretty packed out schedule right now, and I think, even the Padres are in the middle of a 17 games in 17 days right now. Not going the best for them right now, with a little bit of a terrible losing streak that started in LA. I'm just going to say, but
they were lighting up the Rangers before we got on, so you know.
Yeah, they might be.
As long as their bullpen doesn't blow it.
Yeah, that's been pretty bad. That was supposed to be their strength coming into this year. But couple interesting things in baseball. I think the first thing, actually, Tyler pointed this out to me, and this is going back, you know, I think it's been like 2.5 weeks now. The Indians thing, with some guys just leaving the hotel and just going out on the town, and
Zach Plesac and Mike Clevenger.
They've been sent to the offsite. For those that aren't familiar, like in this, you know, say for example, the Padres, kind of like their training camp is actually up at USD. I think the Dodgers are doing theirs at somewhere on USC's campus.
Yeah, I believe so.
So it's not like you're going back to Arizona. They don't want to have that much travel involved, or you're going back, you know, somewhere in Florida. It's just going to be somewhere within the town, kind of like an extended spring training, sort of, where guys can still work out and have some kind of team facilities there. And then, you know, as people get hurt or whatever, be recalled and things like that.
Right.
But the big shocker now, I mean, it's not really a shocker because I'd be pissed too. But the Indians are kind of, even though they extended their, I now believe, the second longest all-time winning streak against one team, against the Tigers yesterday.
Yeah,
they won like
against the Tigers.
Yeah, just total domination. Maybe the Tigers just don't even show up next time you play the Indians. You know, just
save the arms, you know.
Yeah. But and nice to see Fran Mill getting 2 home runs,
lighting it up. Yeah.
The Franimal. But so the team meeting that led to them getting sent back to the offsite training facility. There was quite a bit of dissent there, and I think Tyler, you mentioned multiple people were voicing their displeasure over this, and
so they kind of had a team meeting about it. You know, as Ronnie said, these two pitchers, Plesac and Clevenger, broke protocol, left their hotel, went out and had dinner with some friends when they were in Chicago. Plesac got caught, was sent right away. He actually had to rent a car and drive back to Cleveland. The next day, they found out after they boarded the plane that Clevenger also went out, which that's kind of what pissed off most of the people, is, you know, that he didn't tell them anything, and B, he put people at risk. I mean, like, they've got, you know, Carlos Carrasco on the roster, who, you know, was just recovered from cancer, and now he's still been doing treatment. So now it's, you know, You're kind of putting him in danger for that. But so they had a bit of a team meeting, and a lot of the players, you know, expressed their displeasure. It was actually veteran relief pitcher Oliver Perez. For those of you that have been watching for more than 10 years, yes, the same Oliver Perez that lit it up on the
very same. Yes.
But he basically said, like, look, if you let them back on the team while we're here in Detroit, I'm opting out of the season. Their star shortstop for the time being, Francisco Lindor was also very outspoken about it, not too happy with him. So both pitchers were eventually optioned over to the alternate site that Cleveland has, as Ronnie explained, kind of their extended spring training site. I think they set it for 10 days, but if they keep him there longer, this actually could have an effect on Clevenger's time served. If they were to option him for 20 days and then bring him back, it would put him 1 day short of 4 years of service, which would actually extend his ability to become a free agent by 1 year.
Yeah.
So there's lots of issues with that, and teams are kind of known for manipulating time served. So I mean that's a very real possibility that could happen to him. But at the same time, man, you opted in on this and you broke the protocol. So in that sense, I don't really have sympathy for you in that case.
Yeah, and definitely, as you can see there, this is from Passan, one of the top MLB insider guys for ESPN. But if you have a minute, go check out the article. They kind of dive into the service time implications here and just sort of what this would do to a team, given the current circumstances. But I think, I mean, it's not good that it happened. I guess it's sort of refreshing in a way to see, like, this has been the whole onus that the media and the owners have been putting on the players, kind of like, well, it's kind of up to you guys now to police this yourselves. Like, you have one job, and that's just to try to make it through this season. Let's not have a bunch of positive tests. You're just going to have to, it's going to suck. Like, we already know it's going to suck. You can't really go out and do a lot of things, but it's, 2.5 months. So if you want to play or not, and the two things that stuck out to me the most is really, like we talked about the first time with the Marlins and the Cardinals outbreaks, which I still don't know what's going to happen with the Cardinals because they got so many games to make up. It's ridiculous. But for one, the big thing, if I was a player, the money. Like, just don't look bad to have some extra ammo for the owners. Just follow the guidelines, be responsible, make it through the season, get to the bargaining table, and say, for the most part, we took care of it on our own. We didn't, there's already been a couple of leaks, obviously, breaks in the chain here.
Right.
But the other thing is, I think pretty much every team, the Indians are, I would say, certainly an above average team. Like,
for sure.
Just to be whatever conservative. They're not, the best team, but they're good. They're not the worst team in the league.
They're a contender.
You got to think a lot of even some of the teams that were regarded as the lower teams. Hey, it's 60 games. Half the teams get in the playoffs. We got a shot here if we don't mess it up. So I could see why the players are upset on both, fronts there. It'll be interesting to see, especially with that service time thing, though, what's going to happen there, because that's a substantial amount of money just for him personally if that clock gets rolled back another year on him.
Yeah.
Ask Chris Bryant about that, son.
I'm actually glad that you brought up the, teams kind of having to make up games, because I was looking at the schedule, and tomorrow is going to be the first time in quite a while that all 30 teams will actually be playing a game on the same day, which is, it's unfortunate, but it's unfortunate it's taking this long, but it's something.
Yeah, I mean, they got to plow through these, and with the teams that have already missed so many games, they're going to have to get creative with this, because there's no way they're going to end the season with everyone having played the same amount of games. I just don't. You can talk about 7-inning doubleheaders all you want, but even that is not going to get you there. And we haven't even, there's no accounting for what's going to happen weather-wise in some of these cities. So that's already got to kind of be built into, we're going to lose some games here just by the fact that we started so late trying to squeeze all this in. And then when you get to the playoffs again with all these extra teams, no one-game playoffs, it's going to cause problems. If one more team has like one of these, they have to all get shut down. I don't know. The owners at this point are going to try to push through because, as we have said, the big payday is getting the playoff TV money. Yep. But I don't know where they're going to go, because you just throw it up to winning percentage and none of the teams will play the same amount of games. Like, what does that do for an actual competitive playoffs? I don't know. Couple other things here. Let's check into the comments. Actually, this is a fitting time to bring this up for the biggest ETM fan Oh, I thought that was a Met fan, but we'll just circle back.
So did I. Yeah, that's so
I'll just assume that. But thank you for watching. Also, thank you for the views. And
thanks. Yeah, thanks for watching. And come on, give us something better than boring, dude. I've been called way worse than that. Come on.
Yeah, you can come a little stronger than that. But I appreciate you watching. And when I thought you were a Mets fan, I was going to go in on you. But maybe you could just enjoy this because this was unrelated. But we've talked about it on the show that apparently J-Lo and Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod being everyone's favorite commenter on ESPN. It seems like every week, every time Sunday Night Baseball comes on, it's just
he's
like,
the best, isn't he?
Did you just see what A-Rod said? Like, seriously? Unbelievable. But I think the original tweet there, this is some kind of Mets insider. I don't know. He's got a check mark, so he's a big Mets fan if you check out his Twitter account. But J-Lo and A-Rod bought a very expensive house that will likely sink into the sea. And, of course, this guy had to jump in as a Mets fan. This is an interesting way to find out that they did, in fact, buy the Mets. So stay tuned for that. We'll see if that means, good news, bad news. Got your new house. We're signing the papers on the Mets deal, but also your house is falling into the ocean, and also it is the Mets. Sorry, just to let you know. It turns out it's still the Mets.
Yeah, man, going in on, God, if you're going to go in on some team like the Mets, that's pretty rough. But I do like that. I mean, nobody insults the Mets better than Mets fans.
Like Mets fans.
Got to give them that.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know. Yeah, he's saying that the link did not work. Producer Tanaya coming in. I believe that's the same link. But give it another shot, Cease. We'll see if we can get you on here with you. But let's see. Got Nick, another one here. Looks like NBA bubble. I think tensions will be higher in the playoffs, being that everyone is in the bubble and certain teams are staying at the same hotel. Houston and OKC is a perfect example. That is going to be interesting. Actually, maybe a good time to swerve over to the NBA bubble and playoffs. Thank you.
Nice job, Nick. Way to set it up.
Yeah, producer Nick. Honorary producer Nick coming in. Couple things today. Like I said, you had wall-to-wall NBA playoff games starting as early as 10:30 in the morning on the West Coast. I believe it was the first game, right? The Jazz game, the Jazz Nuggets game.
Yeah. It was Jazz Nuggets was the opening game.
And the funniest thing that I saw come out of the bubble life today was this was maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours after the game. Jamal Murray on his Instagram posted pretty much what it's like and how awkward that is in a playoff. Everyone's just going for the throat, like it's win or go home type situation.
Right.
But then you still have to go back out into this bubble, and this is what he ran into immediately after he left the arena there.
It's crazy thing out here being in the bubble. I got to see this dude right after the game. He just dropped 57!
So they have Jamal Murray just happening to run into Donovan Mitchell right after the game. Probably a little easier to laugh at that, even especially after a guy hangs 57 points on you. When Mitchell unfortunately had a questionable, shall we say, to put it nicely, 8-second violation that was very costly at the end of that game, and they lost. But it is going to be weird, just as guys, you just came off like a death match in Game 7 of the conference finals, and it's like, oh yeah, but I saw that guy at the pool.
Yeah, it was. Hell of an effort by Mitchell today. He actually set the mark for the third highest scoring amount in an NBA playoff game with 57 points today. Unfortunately, he's going to be kind of better remembered in this game for that stupid 8-second violation. I think they were up by 4 at the time with under 2 minutes left. He took his time getting the ball across half court. When he finally realized he was about to hit the 8 seconds, he tried running across, but got called on it. Denver goes down, hits a 3, and then goes on a run, takes the lead and doesn't give it up the rest of the way. So, tough look. I mean, as a fan of, University of Michigan, I know Chris Webber, he'll always, as great a player as he is, he'll be remembered for that one stupid thing he did. Unfortunately, Mitchell's 57-point game is going to be remembered for stupid thing that you just can't do. I mean, 8 seconds. Come on. When does that happen?
Unfortunately, that's the life of an athlete. You have a great great game, but that one thing at the end, especially when you're talking about playoffs or championship type situations, that's, like what it did to poor Chris Webber. That followed him around forever.
Forever.
Looks like Cease did work out his technical difficulties here, so I want to bring him into the show, making his Quarantine Kings debut on the Jupiter Records and Tapes Celebrity Hotline. Jupiter Records and Tapes 3251 University Avenue. City Heights home for outdated music formats. The one and only Cease Beeston coming in hot. Cease, how are we doing this evening?
Cease, what's up, man?
I'm doing great live from the truck, man. I'm working.
I could see
Beautiful.
that. Hey, I'm out here working too in the tent, getting bit up by mosquitoes for you guys.
And I always hit Jupiter. What would an old guy would always stop at Jupiter Records and Tapes to get music?
There you go.
It's
Great
old guy
selection of
music.
vinyl. I believe even 8 tracks. All kinds of. I've been in the store once. It's pretty cool actually. They have listening room. It smells like old records, which is kind of a gross smell, but if you know what it is, you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of an exciting smell. Yeah, great spot on University Avenue. So City Heights, home for outdated music formats. But Cease, happy that you have finally accepted the challenge of joining us on the air. Well, I guess, as we all know, you're a busy man, but have you been able to take in any of the baseball, especially now your Cardinals are back in action? A little bit of NBA playoffs and everything going on.
I was bummed out that they've been off for a couple of weeks. And but I do have a quick sports has been rough for me. I was waiting like crazy for it to come back, but then when it comes back, it's preaching to me, and I just I can't handle it too much.
Yeah.
So I'm not boycotting it. I'm keeping up with it, but it's I didn't leave sports; they left me. So I mean that may be a crusty old guy take, but I am a crusty old guy.
Well, I mean, obviously you are a crusty old guy, but I wouldn't even say that's a crusty old guy take. I think a lot of people feel in the same way. I know, in the case of the NBA bubble, you had the whole thing come out where Kyrie was saying maybe we just don't play and that'll be our protest. And then there was all this, between players maneuvering like, well, if we play, then we can be more vocal. And other people are like, I want to sit out. Other people, I want to use the platform. So given the climate of everything going on, I see that that's probably the way a lot of people are feeling right now, for sure.
I caught a little bit of the NBA today on my lunch break, and Kyle Lowry. I guess it was Kyle Lowry for Toronto, because on the back of his jersey it said education reform. And here's a guy who went to college for 2 years and then got a 7-figure job. Yeah, I'm for that education reform. I'm for everybody to get that. But I guess
education reform's got some handles. I've been following that guy, since he was in AAU. Education reform, he could ball.
He is good. He's good. I guess my main sport these days is bass fishing, so I'm wondering if Quarantine Kings could be the bass fishing show of record.
We could. I mean, I could say, and I, have been keeping up with some of your catches.
I always see that on Twitter. Yes.
Nice. Keep up. Stay out there working the reels. But this was, not quite in there was nothing going on days, but it was before we had even, I think, baseball come back, or maybe right at the beginning, and they had the Bassmasters, the big one, on ESPN, and I saw that I think it was like 9 hours on the guide, and I was like, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I can. I don't know. I mean, it's nice when I'm out there for 9 hours, drinking a Coors Light and just kind of seeing what I can catch. But I don't know if I want to watch it on TV. But we can explore that possibility for sure.
Well, let me just say before I get off here and let y'all do a good show and me not kill it for you like I did your podcast, being the last guest on there. You guys are doing great, and this is the funnest thing that I do, and I get a kick out of just trying to poke you guys every chance I get.
Of course, I would expect nothing less.
I do got a quick question here before you jump off. Now, what is your choice? Are you going bait? Are you going worms? Are you going lure? What are you using when you're out there fishing?
Well, the bass I've been catching lately been on the spinner bait, just a typical bass. It looks like a shad, and it's got a the little frill skirt on it, and then with two
Right.
spinners.
Right.
And that's what I've had the most luck with lately. I've got a little pond at my work. We've got a big yard at our work and a big field, and there's a pond back there, and there's small fish in there, and I fish with a little swim shad back there and kill them.
I noticed you've been getting out a lot of
Got
times
it.
on your post.
Yeah.
It's,
No, I'll
I
always
had
do
a
that.
break from work, or I was on my lunch break, and then you got the fish right there. So, I mean, that's probably similar to some of this bubble life. I know there was a lot of fishing going on over there. A lot of people trying to misrepresent themselves on social media, though, posting pictures of them holding fake, marlins and things like that obviously do not live in the lakes and streams around the Orlando bubble. But I appreciated that's like fish stories. You got to outdo the other person. But
I like his game with the big marlin caught in Orlando. I like his game.
just
I
trying
like
to get
his game.
creative.
But let me get off here. I'm going to get back to work, guys. I appreciate it. Let me give you a little truck horn before we go.
Oh, let's hit it. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Thank you, Cease. We'll be
Stay
seeing you in
safe
the
out there,
comments
Cease.
and call in whenever you want. There he goes again
Absolutely.
on the Jupiter Records and Tape Celebrity Hotline, the hardest working man and the sportsman insider of Quarantine King, Cease Beeston. Thank you for
That's one
checking
of-
in with us.
One of the OGs from the podcast days right there. Longtime friend of the show.
Fortunately, now I do have to announce this is our final episode because Cease was
That's
on.
it. Well,
so,
there we go. That's it.
he killed our podcast, and
It's a good run.
some unforeseen thing is going to happen, I'm sure, where we get taken off the air. But
It's a good run.
thank you to Cease for calling in, and like I said, we'll be talking to you soon. But just to put a little button on that NBA bubble, this is more of just the bubble life, which I am fascinated with.
Oh, sure.
At times, more than the playoffs. Now that, well, I wouldn't say the playoffs, but more than some of the games. They're doing the seeding games. You saw the Lakers had it wrapped up, so they pretty much rested everyone. In the case of LeBron, probably a good idea. Also, see if J.R. Smith remembers how to play basketball at all. See if he can get out there. But
He'll be fine.
one thing, and we talked about this, I think, just briefly on the show, but there was some more stuff that came out over the weekend. Jimmy Butler, I was hearing, little murmurs and things that he had set up his own coffee shop in the bubble with, basically running it out of his room because he had a French
He's got like
press.
a French press. Yeah, he's got a whole
And
setup.
a lot of other players showed up there, and apparently it's very hard to get coffee. I don't know why that would be, considering, it's still Disney World. You got to have a Starbucks or something in there. They set up a barber shop for these guys. I mean, if you can go, bass fishing, I would assume you can find a cup of coffee, but apparently it's harder than you would think. And it is confirmed that he is running this out of his hotel room. As you can see, all three size cups are, in fact, $20, which I like his comment on that was, look, I know coffee's hard to find, and everyone here can afford it, so you have to pay. He was like, I'm thinking about raising it up to 30.
It's a businessman.
And clearly no IOUs also. And so this started leaking out over the weekend, and my favorite part about it was that this is actually from, another show favorite, Myers Leonard, his Twitter account, teammate Myers Leonard. But his agent doubled down on this. This is his actual legitimate agent. I'm not making this up. Someone asked, is Jimmy a budding barista? And he said 100%, we are building tunnels to get the beans into the bubble like El Chapo. So stay tuned. Jimmy Butler working on a, some kind of coffee/cartel empire. He may have a career outside of the bubble. He may never even come back to basketball. I don't know. We'll see how far they go in the playoffs. But just a little fun thing that I saw. And I know Tyler kind of initially tipped me off to it, but now there's some hard evidence on Twitter. So apparently this is actually going on in the bubble. No, I haven't seen any, revenue reports as far as how many cups are being sold or if he's still honoring the no IOU policy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm kind of fascinated. Maybe we can get a Netflix show about people importing it, because I know Miami's kind of a hotbed for the coffee espresso game. Maybe they'll be kind of taking it across county lines from Miami into Orlando, trying to sneak that into the bubble. I'd be interested in that show. I think
that's a good point. It's Florida. There's a lot of guys that at the very least know guys that can get things. If you just things, they can get it for you. Or I know a guy that can get it. Yeah,
I think I think we gotta keep an eye out. That might turn into this friggin' guy for us in the future. If somebody tried to take a bunch of coffee into the bubble there, especially when they open up in a couple weeks and start allowing guests on there.
Yeah. Or we just see a huge fight break out at the pool when Jimmy Butler catches someone that's 10 IOUs deep.
Ooh.
Could get ugly.
Or what if somebody like brings in like a massive amount of Starbucks and is kind of like, impeding on his business?
Undercutting? Yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah, we might get a turf war out there. And I've always said, man, Jimmy Butler, there's something behind his eyes that just scares me. Like, that's not a guy I would mess with.
Touch of the crazy. And like I said, this is his actual agent. So it kind of seems like that's a good match. I mean, I could see that guy being Jimmy Butler's agent. So
I like the name of the guy that he's replying to as well, Dork Nowitzki.
Dork Nowitzki. I'm sure a great follow on Twitter as well. So
Yes.
Keep your eyes peeled out there on the bubble life when it comes to the coffee. The NASCAR, real quick, just didn't really have a whole lot. It was a road course. First time they ever did the Daytona road course, where they do like the 24 hours of Daytona and things like that, IMSA races. I always like to see them get out on the road courses just because it sort of breaks up, all the left turns, obviously. You get out to a Sears Point or a Watkins Glen or something like that. And this one was cool because it's the first time they had a cup race there. But as you usually see, not a lot of top week-to-week guys finishing high up on the road courses. In fact, a lot of times with NASCAR, you'll see specialists that pretty much only do the road courses. They, just get a ride for the weekend. They guys that race on road courses all the time in different formats and circuits. I remember Boris Said was a guy who was around forever. And I think he was in the truck series when it first started for a little bit off and on, but he would always be there
two
for
races a year. Yeah.
For the cup races. He would always get a ride for one of these road races. So there's a lot of guys like that are, I wouldn't say mercenaries, because the week-to-week guys obviously make more money, but you'll recognize a lot more new names. Like, I've never heard of this guy, but man, he's kicking ass. Like, he actually knows how to drive on a road course. So that was kind of fun to see. I didn't get to catch a whole lot of it. It sounded like, Tyler was sort of, let me know what happened to Harvick. I saw with about 10 laps left, he was somewhere down around in the high 20s or like 30th place. He ended up, 17th or something like that?
17th, yeah. At one point in time, he was out in the front, I think in second, and got spun out, got turned completely around. And in those road races, you got to wait. You have to wait
for
everybody to pass you before you can get a U-turn. So he went from, very front to the very back. Managed to make a little bit of run, get into 17th. But Chase Elliott was able to pick up the win this weekend. Denny Hamlin was right behind him in second. So I think that's Elliott's second win on the year. So he already had himself a playoff spot. But going to be exciting. These, they got 3 more races until the playoff starts. They got a back-to-back Saturday, Sunday this weekend here in Dover.
Doubleheader.
And then they got next Saturday, they'll be in Daytona. That'll be the last race before the playoffs. So, some of those guys that are kind of in the 13th to 20th are really going to be battling for those last few playoff spots. So should make for some pretty exciting races. Also, it's not NASCAR, but I did also want to point out that this upcoming weekend we do have the Indy 500, which they had qualifying for over the weekend. And Marco Andretti of the infamous Andretti family did win. did win. I know. He did win the pole. He'll be on the front row actually with 2 prior Indy 500 winners with Scott Dixon and Takuma Sato. Yeah, who Dixon won it in 2008, Sato won it in 2017. So interesting front row. I think there's 8 or 9 previous winners in the lineup this year. There's also 6 or 7 rookies. So could make for a pretty interesting race this coming weekend.
Yeah, and I mean the Indy, has sort of fallen by the wayside, going back to the 90s where they had the cart split off, and then now that it's kind of similar to soccer, F1 is sort of gaining traction here too. Again, sort of overtaking them in popularity here in the States as far as open wheel racing. But the Indy 500 is always a big deal, so that'll be fun to watch. I'll try to catch as much of that as I can. And I think I saw I believe on ESPN, they were saying it's the first time any Andretti, family member got on the pole since I think since Mario in the late 80s.
Mario, yeah.
So that's kind of a cool story. And those guys that you mentioned, Dixon and Sato, those guys are every weekend guys on the Indy circuit. So they're definitely capable guys it's the Indy 500. Even if you don't, in a vacuum, it's still just like, oh, it's the Indy 500. It's a big deal.
Still a big deal. Still got that name recognition.
Couple things, just diving back into the comments. Producer Tanaya said it worked for me. # user error. So coming after Cease a little bit, but Cease, credit to him, did figure it out.
He got on.
Maybe that was the response there. Producer Tanaya, proud that you figured out our extremely complicated system. Jaime, the StreamYard, and then believe going back to Jimmy Butler's agent, El Chumpo. I don't know if that's directed at the agent or Jimmy Butler, but again, that's something I want to keep an eye on anyway. Just for bubble life outside of the games being played.
Definitely.
We did have I wouldn't say the whole card. We kind of talked about it on Friday, not really like a super card or anything like that, but given the nature of the main event, and it was a pay-per-view, pretty significant fight, historically speaking. So I did want to give the Fight Doctor some time to dive into what we saw over the weekend, kind of where we're at sort of going forward with UFC, and just sort of break it all down for us. So I'm going to give it up to the Fight Doctor.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is the main event of the evening.
the heavyweight champion of the world,
Every time. Love it every time.
There we go. Yep.
But yes, no,
So,
UFC
like Ronnie said, there was a
this
big
weekend.
big main event. Obviously, we had the anytime it's a heavyweight title fight, going to be a big deal, and let alone the third fight of a trilogy where both guys split. So big fight again. Stipe Miocic was able to beat Daniel Cormier by decision. Maybe not the not the slugfest or even the wrestlefest that I kind of thought it would be. I was really surprised that not necessarily that Stipe won, even though I know I predicted DC last Friday. But I was surprised with the manner that he won it. He really did a good job of utilizing, when DC came in, he'd get him in the clinch and then force him back into the cage and just kind of propped him up there. And there was nothing DC could do about it. He did that for probably 4 of the 5 rounds. So, props to Stipe, was able to get the decision, pretty clear-cut decision. It wasn't it definitely wasn't.
I have this is the official card here.
I think 2 judges had it 49-46, one had it 48-47, which 49-46 is where I had it, although I had one of the rounds as a toss-up, so I couldn't get the other one. There was a little bit of a I don't know if I can even call it a controversy, because it was kind of such a one-sided fight. And, some might also say DC maybe had this coming to him. But there was a really nasty eye poke, I believe, at the end of the 3rd round the official, Mark Goddard, actually didn't even award it to DC. He said, when DC said I got poked, he said, no, you got punched. Of course, then replay showed it was a pretty nasty eye poke. It messed up DC's eye pretty bad. And
we do have the eye, of course, here.
Yeah, there we go.
The post-fight interview.
But and some fans will say, he had it coming, because between the 3 fights, I think he eye poked Stipe 7 times, I think is what the count was. So again, very unfortunate. DC obviously he said it affected me, but he said, hey, look, I got beat. This is it, and he's saying he's retired. We'll see how long that really lasts, because fighters never retire.
Yeah. He said in this interview, which he's pretty. You see him do a lot of stuff on TV for UFC analysis and things like that. So he always got a pretty even measured perspective, and he pretty much said, I'm really only interested in title fights, and I'm just going to be honest, I don't really see when I'm going to get another one of these. So this may be it for me. I think I'm pretty good where I'm at. But like Tyler said, everything is always a fluid situation when it comes to fighters retiring. So.
Yeah, and coming off the title fight now, Stipe is he's got what I thought was for certain a matchup with Francis Ngannou coming up, but John Jones kind of, as he is wont to do, stealing the thunder from anybody else whenever they instead of giving him their moments. He was kind of tweeting out right after the fight that he wants to challenge Stipe for the heavyweight title, and earlier today officially vacated the light heavyweight title and has declared that he is going to heavyweight, which, a part of me thinks maybe Dana had to have guaranteed him a title shot because, he's losing points going into a fight as a champion.
Yeah.
So part of me thinks maybe Dana did guarantee him the fight, which sucks for Ngannou because he hasn't even been waiting around. He's still been fighting and defending his, his title contendership. So, we'll kind of see how that plays out. I mean, Dana, you never know what he's going to do. It's actually pretty rare that the number one contenders actually get their shot when they should. And we're going to have to see what happens to the light heavyweight division. I mean, Dominic Reyes was told that he was going to be fighting for the title next against John Jones, which, they fought a couple years ago. Jones won by decision. I know myself, and if you look online and ask people, a lot of people thought Reyes won that fight, but, there's always the old adage of, you have to beat the champ. You can't leave it close. You can't be a close decision. You got to beat a champ. Otherwise, the judges are going to give it to the champ every time. So I'm kind of curious. I'm sure Reyes will be put in a title fight with somebody else. I don't know who else was going to be the legit contender in the light heavyweight. But the top two weight classes is going to be kind of interesting to see what they go forward from there. Ronnie, do you have any other thoughts on the fight before I jump on to a couple other fights that were on the card?
No, I thought it was a fair decision. I thought, Miocic pretty clearly won. I will say, Cormier definitely showed just championship class. Both guys took some pretty big shots, or eye pokes in the case of Cormier in this one. But just definitely the heart of a champion for both guys. And considering it's a trilogy fight, now there's the talk floating around Miocic. Does this mean he's the heavyweight GOAT or whatever? But I thought it was a deserved result, and what you can't argue with 2 out of 3. So interested to see what DC decides to do from here. I thought there's nothing to be ashamed about the way he performed, though. He just got beat. So I thought it was a good fight, though.
Yeah, no, it was a solid fight. Like I said, it wasn't the most, it wasn't an entertaining slugfest, but I'm impressed with the way that Stipe won it. I figured if he won it, it was going to be with his boxing, and instead he used the clinch to do it, which, that's just kind of another, just adding something else that other fighters got to look out for now. It's like, oh, okay, well, now I can't clinch with this guy because he's going to push me up against the cage, and there's nothing I can do about it. So, in Tong, I completely agree with you. Nagano should have the shot, and Jones can wait, or he can fight somebody else.
Well, that'll be interesting to see what getting a media title. Tong having all kinds of UFC takes for the Fight Doctor. But
I agree with him, actually.
Well, I mean, like Tyler said, Dana's always kind of a wild card, and him and John Jones have a long-standing back and forth, shall we say. But yeah, we'll see what happens. John Jones also, as Tyler alluded to, has a penchant for kind of stealing the spotlight at different times for good or bad reasons, just keeping his name out there at different periods of time. But it's clear what he wants, so now we'll see what happens as far as the actual promotion, what they do with him.
Yeah. So then, a couple of fights I want to talk about. And, hey, I will be the first one to say this, man. I got no problem saying Fight Doctor. I'm taking it on the chin on this one. I went 0 for 3 in my predictions last week. I'll take that on the chin. I'll wear it. But just so you know, if you bet, my predictions were for entertainment purposes only. So, just saying.
God,
just saying.
They were for entertainment purposes only. We say that every
Always
time.
Got to put that up.
So legally,
but we're covered. In the co-main event, Sugar Sean O'Malley saw his undefeated streak come to an end against Marlon Vera. It was really weird. At some point in time, Sugar Sean was kind of doing his juke and jiving around the ring, and it looked like I don't know if it was his knee or his ankle or broke his foot, but something happened with his leg.
Yeah,
he got hurt. It was clear that he was favoring it real hard. At one point in time, he actually just kind of fell on his own, under his own weight. Vera jumped on him, threw a few punches. Herb Dean stepped in and stopped it. You know what? I had no problem with it. I mean, some might say it was an early stoppage, but look, O'Malley wasn't getting up and doing anything. Like that was an injury stoppage more than a TKO stoppage. You can argue to the death if O'Malley didn't get hurt, he would have won. You can argue that to death, doesn't matter. He got hurt. Vera jumped on him, finished the fight. Hats off to Vera. He got the win. Hopefully O'Malley.
I
Go
was
ahead.
just gonna say, in the case of that, I mean, even yesterday, or ESPN was doing a whole like a featured thing about when to stop fights, and it was bigger than UFC, just boxing, things like that. It's pretty interesting if
Yeah.
you had a chance to see it. But and that's always, between fight fans, like a debate of, oh, they should have let it go on, he's coming back, or they let it go on so long. But in that case, it was pretty clear that there was essentially like a non-contact injury that he was carrying around at that point.
And those are the worst. Those are so much worse than contact
Yeah.
injuries.
Yeah.
So no, I thought I thought it was a good stoppage. And like I said, hopefully, Sean O'Malley, he's young, he's 12-1, 8 KOs, highlight reel knockouts. So, as long as he's got the right mindset, I think he can come back and be fine. And it'll be interesting to see where Vera goes from here too. Now that he's got kind of got this signature win on there, maybe he'll jump up to a step up in competition as well. The other fight I wanted to mention that again, I was wrong on last week. Hey, I'll take it on the chin. Jairzinho Rosenstruck beats Junior Dos Santos in a heavyweight fight by knockout in the second round. I gotta say, I went with Junior Dos Santos because I really love the guy's boxing. The guy hits like a freight train, and every shot that he did land on Rosenstruck just ate it like a tic tac, like it was just nothing. So I mean, maybe they always say the last thing that a fighter loses is punch, and that kind of makes me wonder. Does Rosenstruck just really have that good of a chin, or is this the end of Dos Santos? I mean, he's had a great long career, been a great ambassador for the sport and for the nation of Brazil. But Rosenstruck gets the win, so he's going to be. They'll probably put him in the top 5 in the heavyweight division. So maybe he's a guy that John Jones can fight in his first heavyweight fight. He'll be kind of looking to make that push. I think he's Rosenstruck is 11-1 now, I think, with 10 knockouts. So. Again, he's a guy to keep an eye on, and he'll definitely be a player in the heavyweight division for the next few years to come, I think.
And Tong disputing that our picks are for entertainment purposes only, claiming that they are gospel. But no, it is clearly put out there, entertainment purposes only.
That's right. That's right.
That's it. We got to cover our ass here, Tong.
But all in all, it really wasn't a terrible card. It wasn't a blowaway card either. Some decent fights on the undercard. I thought the very first fight of the night between Kai Kamaka and Tony Kelly was the fight of the night. That was one where Kamaka went out and dominated for the first round and a half. Then Kelly found some crazy second win, dominated for the second round and a half. So it was made it a very entertaining fight. Overall, I would say you don't got to go back and check out the whole card. I would say check out the main event because again, it was possibly the biggest trilogy as far as just both guys being equal fighters, all for the heavyweight title. Just kind of, I would say check it back just kind of for that purpose.
Just as, one of the bigger, more famous UFC arcs. I mean, it was significant in that regard. And it was pretty clear to both of us, the pay-per-view was essentially sold on that premise. But, fair game to them. It's a fight that's always going to draw eyes. Given the impact that both of those guys have had on the sport. So, and like I said, it wasn't the worst fight I've ever seen. Wasn't, fireworks show like Tyler said, but both guys showed championship class, and Miocic clearly came out on top. So we'll see what happens to Cormier. I think he's going to land on his feet, no matter what. He's already been in the broadcasting side of UFC for a long time.
He's great on the broadcast too. I really enjoy him.
And there's no shame. Like I said, he's had a great career. So if he wants to go do that, I'm sure, he'll have just as many fans following him as a broadcaster if he chooses to do that. But, we'll keep our eyes on it and see sort of what happens, especially with this Jones saying what happens to the heavyweight division. And if that huge payday comes along, don't be shocked if someone decides to come out of retirement. Who knows?
Yeah, no, definitely. Whenever a fighter tells you they're going to retire, never believe it.
But that's pretty much all I had. Like I said, didn't really check in on the golf too much. I saw it was, one of those like after major ones where I think the winner was minus 20 something. So I'm sure it was still a difficult golf course, but just not the same,
What was it, the golf course that you were playing at this weekend? Is that actually why you were out there?
Yes.
Just trying to get noticed?
Just trying to get my name out there, dropping off some business cards, shaking hands. Well, not shaking hands, but,
of course
like, remember this face.
Yeah.
I'll text you my Instagram or whatever. Just trying to link up. LinkedIn. I'm going to add that to my LinkedIn.
There you go. There you go.
Attempted amateur professional golfer.
There was just one other thing I wanted to touch on, just something I saw kind of before we jump on the air, is that the SEC, who is one of the conferences, of course, that is going to be continuing on with football. It's obviously getting my dog riled up. They did announce their week 1 football schedule this year, which, a lot of the games I'm not overly excited about. Bama Mizzou's on there, or Georgia, Arkansas, kind of a lot of blowouts. The 2 that did stick out to me are the 2 that involved their, some of the newer coaches. One is Florida at Ole Miss, which will be Lane Kiffin's head coaching debut against Florida, who, never a pushover, that's for sure. They're definitely always usually top 15 team. And then, of course, our guy, Mike Leach, going to Death Valley, having to take on Coach O, which give me those 2 in a press conference together. Give me Leach, give me Ortron. Just let them have a debate. I don't even care about the football game. Let them have a debate. That's what I want.
Yeah, now they can start talking about it at least, So happy for that. We'll see, if the games actually do get played. But that is, just for the coaches alone, that's a pretty savory one for week 1.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a rough start for Leach. I mean, whenever you see a new coach go to a new school, it usually takes them about 2 or 3 years to kind of really get anything going. And they're throwing him into LSU, who, the defending national champs.
The champs.
One of arguably the best college football teams of all time, if you look at it, really. Granted, they did lose a lot of players, but LSU, they're just going to reload. So could be a rough start for Leach, but I'm looking forward to that game. I think it'll be pretty fun.
Well, now he can just spend all this time scheming of still how to get like 700 yards offense and lose to LSU.
Exactly. But that was all I had, Ron. Anything else before we sign off for the evening?
No, thank you guys again for tuning in. Enjoy the high times of sports right now. NBA playoffs look like they're just going to be great. I know Callan, who's going to be off for a couple days on the network, posted on the Quarantine Network Sports page, just sort of looking for some prognostications. And as I looked at it, it was like, honestly, almost all these teams I could see at least making a deep run, if not just getting hot and winning.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, yeah, there's still some top dogs up there, but who knows, if LeBron can keep doing LeBron things as he grows that gray beard out more and more and just seems to look older on the court as well. Lakers also have a lot of defensive and shooting issues to deal with. And then you have the hot teams that have already been playing playoff games to just get to this point.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be a really exciting just tournament, something that I know a lot of NBA fans were disappointed, thinking it wasn't going to come back.
It's been awesome.
But, yeah, I mean, you're still going to have the best players in the world. Yeah, they're in a bubble, but as far as watching on TV, the only thing that's really different is the games are on early in the morning. So you have all day to watch these games. And I think as it kind of just, weans down, it's going to be some really, really good series.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely looking forward to the playoffs just kind of dominating the full day for the next few days. I mean, granted, we'll all be at work early in the day, but like Ronnie said earlier, on your lunch break, you can sit down and watch a few minutes of playoff game, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's almost not quite like an NCAA tournament thing, but that's a fun novelty. If you're going to make the most of how sports have to be right now, it's kind of cool to just, the 10:30 NBA playoff game just ended on a Wednesday. There's another one coming up at 1:30. Yes, all right.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's definitely looking forward to it.
So keep your eyes on that. As always, thank you guys for watching, commenting. Cease for calling in finally. Breaking the seal on the call-in line for Cease. Powering through some technical difficulties at the beginning, but hopefully we'll be hearing from him as well. Keep hitting the lake out there, and we'll promote any big catches that you come up with here on the show. But
for sure.
You guys just dig in and enjoy all the sports we have right now. Be safe out there, and we'll get back with you guys on Wednesday.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, stick around here on the network. We got Book Club for TV with Patrice coming up, and you guys know it as always. Keep the fire.
Keep the fire.
At the buzzer,